All right, today we are going to do one of my favorite math things, which is solving equations. And we're going to be working on this for the next couple weeks. And I like these because for one, they're easy. And for another, it's kind of like figuring out a puzzle. So the first thing we need to know before we start solving equations is this word. Inverse operation. It's a term, not really a word. Inverse is just a fancy word for opposite. So write that down. And then we're going to make ourselves a little cheat sheet right here. This is stuff you've known since you were in kindergarten. The opposite of add is subtract. And the opposite of multiply is divide. You already knew these things. So just make yourself that little key up here at the top, and we'll refer to that as we're working today. So equations are really simple. You've been doing these since you were in elementary school, and I will explain to you how. So when you see an equation that says x plus 16 equals 24, that's the same as a problem you may have done in elementary school, and instead of an x, you had a blank. So what is a blank plus 16 equals 24? In elementary school, you may have done guess and check to figure it out. In middle school, we work backwards by doing inverse operations. We just do the opposite. So the first thing we do when we solve an equation is we draw a line down from the equal sign. And these are our two rooms. And our variable, which is x, or blank, wants its own room. We have to get that x by itself. And once we get it by itself, it's really easy to figure out what it's worth, what its value is. So we draw our two rooms, and then we need to get x by itself. So right now, x has a plus 16 attached to it. We need to do the inverse operation. The opposite of plus is minus. So we're going to subtract 16. And then whatever we do in this room, we have to do in this room. So we are going to subtract 16 in this room also. So now you're just going to use your calculator and do 24 minus 16. I can get my calculator to come on. And it's dead. Here's my little one. 24 minus 16, and that gives us 8. So right here we have 16 minus 16. Well, that cancels out. That just becomes 0. So we have x equals 8. Really, really easy, right? This is a review from last year and really from 6th grade as well. Okay, so let's do the next one. Draw your line down from your equal sign to make your two rooms. And here we have x minus 12 equals 42. Let's do the inverse operation. So we have our x, and we're subtracting 12 from the x. So we need to do the inverse. The opposite of subtract is add. So we're going to add 12. We add the same number. And we're going to do it on both sides. Plus 12 over here also. So minus 12 plus 12, that cancels itself out. So then we have x equals, and then we just have to solve this, 42 plus 12. So do that in your calculator. 42 plus 12 equals 54. Okay, now we have negative 2x equals negative 18. So this one seems like it could be a little bit trickier. It's really not, and I'll explain how. We've already learned when you have a number squished up next to a variable, that means the same as 2 times that variable. So we could rewrite this, negative 2 times x equals negative 18. And I would recommend that you rewrite it like that. It will help your brain keep it organized. So now we can draw our line down from the 0. Now here we're multiplying. I put a dot instead of an x because I didn't want negative 2xx. That'd be too confusing to look at. So you can put a little dot right here next to your multiply sign if that will help you remember that. The opposite of multiply is divide, right? So here we're multiplying by -2, but I need to divide by -2 on each side. Remember, our fraction bar means divide also. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, divide by -2. So that cancels out. -2 divided by -2 equals 1, right? 1 times x is x, so it just cancels out to 1. So x equals, now I have -18 divided by -2, so let's do that. -18 divided by -2. And that gives me positive 9. So x equals 9. Okay, last one. This one also looks tricky. But remember, a fraction bar is the same as divide. See how this sign right here looks like a fraction? It looks like a number over another number. A fraction means divide, a number over another number. So I could rewrite this one, and I want you all to do this. X divided by -3 equals 9. Rewrite it to look like that. If you ever see an equation like this, rewrite it to look like this. It will really help you. Okay, now you just draw your line down. Instead of dividing by -3, we're going to do the inverse. The opposite of divide is multiply. So we're going to multiply by -3. That will cancel out. So x equals, and then we're going to multiply by -3 on this side. So we have 9 times -3, which gives us -27. Okay, make sure that's glued in. You're going to practice this with a really simple worksheet today. It looks like this. You can use your notes to work through these. There's a few questions on here that are a little bit tricky, especially number 10. Do your best to solve those, and you will get a prize if you can get that correct on your own. If you don't know how to do it, do your best to figure it out, and we will work on it together when I come back in here.